We run Clarity Creative Group, an awesome team of 11 people, rocking and rolling, doing great things. Now, we're going to be talking again about data stuff today. So I wanted to give some insight into a little bit about us of what kind of data things we like, right? And this won't necessarily apply to Google. It's just giving you a little context in us. And I'll go first with one, and then we'll go back and forth a little bit. One of the weird data things I've always liked is I'm a movie fan. And I've always been interested in like the box office numbers. It's a weird thing, I know, but it's always interested me to the point where I even used to guess it and play with friends on that. David, you know this because you've known me for 25 years.
Oh, yeah.
I'm always into that still to this day. What kind of stuff are you into?
I think in like a past life, I think I might have been or wanted to be an economist. So like, I don't know if you've ever heard like the Freakonomics podcast. There's the book. And just some of those things are just so entertaining to kind of just learn about, like the statistical models behind people's names and what, you know, how that affects people, or that drug dealing is a good business. I'm like, oh, okay,
interesting.
cool. Yeah. No, it just, you know, there's some numbers there. The other thing I can think about is sports analytics are always kind of cool. I think it's interesting, you know, when we watch games now, they have the percent on the screen, like 3% chance that they're gonna win. And I'm like,
what is that? I love that though. Do you love it?
Yeah, but I'm like, but that, so what you're saying is there's a chance.
There's a chance. I love it. It slides in. It's powered by Amazon, AWS, or powered by you. Eventually, you know, Google's going to try to come in and probably get that sponsorship.
Yeah, Amazon's.
Right, they own that.
Yeah,
that's something so key, right? I was literally going the same place. If we got around to saying too, sports statistics have come a whole different way, and that's data. And the fact that they're putting that on the main broadcast, for example, shows that it intrigues people. And data intrigues, I think, for a lot of reasons. It hits people a lot of different ways. But as we kind of roll into the flow of what this month's webinar is going to be. And we're only going to talk for 10, 15 minutes and open things up for questions on Google Analytics and Google Search Console. It gives that context into why we care about data as humans. Humans care about data. Humans, why else would, again, the NFL put that on? Why would statistics become a thing? Why would we want to know where people are hanging out, how much time they're spending on here? What do they buy? Data matters. And I think that leads us really nicely into what we're going to be doing today. So welcome to everyone who jumped in on the webinar. We're going to have this recorded and up on YouTube as well for those that couldn't make it. Know that you can put in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen here. You can put in any question at any point, and we will answer those at the end of the 10, 15 minutes. But we are going to talk about Google Analytics, Google Search Console, what they are, what the difference is. This is a little different. On purpose, even though we're in the same office, we're in separate rooms because we're going to do something a little different. We're actually going to screen share some things. David's really going to guide you guys through what these things are in a bite-sized sense. So let's start with Google Analytics. David, what is Google Analytics?
The simplest thing is Google Analytics are statistics about your website. And I'm just going to show you. I'll just pull one up, just a website in our repertoire. Of what you might see, and it's just how people have interacted with your property or your website. That's the short answer. Is
no, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So tell us, walk us. Yeah, but walk us through what we're looking at there, because what you're at right now is an overview.
Yeah, so it's just an overview. So in order to get this data, right, so all you gotta do is just, well, all you gotta do, you put a piece of code on your site, and this also exists on apps as well, you know, where you pretty much are grabbing people's, you know, traffic and how they interact with your site, your brand. And so what we're looking here is just pretty much, you know, like a 3 or so month look at just how people are, you know, visiting a website. So you could see certain days have more spikes than others, and the weekends are probably quieter than during the week. So there's other, like, start seeing trends. How are things going? year over year, month over month, you can begin to start understanding how people are interacting with your site.
And for today, we're not going to dive down the very deep rabbit hole that Google Analytics contains. As you can see on the left side of the screen there, you could look at your real-time data. You can dive into your audience acquisition means, again, how they got to the site. You can dive into the site content. It goes so very deep. But today we wanted to give a broad overview. Obviously, if you have more specific questions, we would be more than happy to spend time with you diving in on your analytics. But the big overarching thing before we switch into what Search Console is Google Analytics is the data of what the heck is happening on your website. People are on there, they're clicking on things, they're going to different pages, they're seeing it. And it can be very helpful to you to know, again, where they might be, literally geographically, what device they're using. That could matter. And knowing which pages are getting more traffic than others can be super helpful for you on your journey to figuring out, okay, do I need to put certain type of content up? Are my social profiles sending traffic to my site? This is all the stuff that for free, I want to be clear here, Google Analytics is free. If you get that code onto your site, and again, that's something that if you're not working with us, we would again be able to guide you on. If you're someone that we work with, we've already done that and set this up for you. But this is a free asset that Google offers to provide that actionable data for what you can do on your website. Now, that's a broad overview of analytics. You could take, double-digit hour courses just to learn about it. Google has those for free as well. But let's pivot for a sec. David, what is Google Search Console? And then we will talk about how they're different and how they, can work together. But give us a sense of Google Search Console and show us that.
Yeah, so Google Search Console more has to do with before somebody probably even gets to your website. So what Google Search Console is it shows you, your performance of your website. It allows you to kind of know if there's any errors on your website. Is there anything that you need to fix that Google's not very happy about? Maybe you submitted a page, but they're not able to visit it. And then it also just gives you the ability to just share your website with Google, which yes, Google can find you over time, but we want to make it as easy as possible. So that is the 1 minute Google Search Console.
Walk us through a little sense of how somebody might use Google Search Console. And is this another one where you have to drop code on a site?
So all you have to do is you just have to confirm that you have ownership of the domain. Sometimes you do have to drop code but there's just a way to do verification. If you have analytics, it allows you to use that as a verification code. So that's helpful. But so once you verify, then you get all the statistical data about what search keywords your website is coming up for. So Tasty Trivia website is showing up for Tasty Trivia website, Duffy's Trivia Eve, Play Tasty Trivia. So it's just a number of things. You could see the pages that are ranking. You could see the how people are finding it, where people are finding it, and then how often it's being found. So you have that data. Then you can go into we can submit a sitemap. So you could see what's being crawled, what's not being crawled. There's 2,000 pages that are now that Google can see, so you've better chance of ranking. And then you could also do Google has this new kind of page experience, which just tells you what the performance of your pages are, what they like, what they don't like of things. So,
and again, guys, this is 100% a free asset. Now, it does take some expertise. We're sensitive to that. Again, if you're already kind of in our warm digital embrace, as we call it, we have this set up for you, and we could talk deeper on it. Spend time with us. Many of you have seen it as a part of either a update or part of your monthly report. But if you aren't working with us, and that's awesome that you're even here on the webinar, or you're watching the video after. These are the things you can do to set up yourself for success, whether you have a WordPress site or even if it's Shopify, for example. You can still load some of this stuff in and benefit from these things. So we want everyone to know that Google Analytics and Google Search Console are two pieces of a data puzzle that you can work with to gain what we call actionable information. And what does that even mean? That means what you could do to grow visibility. Everything in this sense is about visibility, right?
Yeah, so if you go old school, right, you think about newspapers, right? They would tell you about how many people viewed, how many where it got sent to, the demographic details and all that. This is kind of that, but in the internet form, obviously it's more technical, more, and you could get more data out of it, which
No,
is
right. Isn't that
exciting.
interesting though? People ask the whether it's, Clear Channel or Outdoor, they give them oh, I want a billboard, and the metric they give them is like how many cars drive by, or the TV would use Nielsen ratings and stuff like that. And
Right.
honestly, you just had to believe them. There was
Yeah.
really no way to get that data. What were you going to go in the corner and count cars? I mean, this allows transparency in the data, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you could drill down and see, most of the traffic is from Florida, like you say it is, and it's from the Orlando area, which would make sense for the brand because that's where it's out of. So it's okay. This is real, or it's genuine, and yeah, you're able to see. But then you can see that there are people from Miami, and they're not doing bad. So it just
Right.
opens things up and just informs a bit more.
Awesome. So remember, if you have any specific questions about Google Analytics or Google Search Console, you could obviously you can email us if you want, but you could put them right in the Q&A that's at the bottom of your screen there on Zoom on the webinar if you want. We've already had one come in, and we'll get to that in a minute. So how are these two things different, David, and how can they work together? Analytics, Search Console.
Okay, so the way I would say that they're different is, so the way I would think about Search Console is how people can find your website, and Analytics is that they found your website. How do they interact? So those are really the two kind of silos, and they're independent of each other. Really, there is a way that you can connect them to share some data, which is helpful, but you don't have full like overlapping visibility. However, to have one or the other, you're not going to get probably as full a picture as you might want as a business. So that's really like, how they live. You definitely want to, kind of take the time and set them up, because if you don't have them on your website, or you don't like set them up, there's no historical data, right? So they can't track that data in the past. That's always kind of been a problem, because like, for like analytics code, if it drops out, unfortunately, that data is gone. There isn't necessarily backups to it.
Right. And that's one of the first things we do when we're communicating with people. We're asking them about analytics. We're setting it up as an early stage part of any relationship. So what we'll do, we got a few minutes left before, again, we're opening up for questions. We've got one that came through already that we'll answer. Again, if you have any thoughts there, throw them in. Don't be shy. But let's break it down. You're on analytics right now.
Mhm.
So if I were to pin you and say, you got to tell me the top three things that somebody should look for in analytics. They've got analytics. It's set up on their site. What are the top three? Because there's 1,000, literally, there's like 1,000 data points. What would be
Yeah.
the three that you would recommend they look at?
For any small business, I think just looking at your just regular user account, right? Looking at your trend, and don't look at a 7 day, don't look at a few days. Try to go, go 3 6 months, and you can just go up here and you can change that. So try to look at like a 3 or 6 month window. Look at your just general audience, your users, and then from there you can go to acquisition, and you can look at how people are finding you, right? Is it through organic, direct, referral? Referral could mean like your email list, or other kind of like Yelp, or other third parties, and then like social. So okay, cool, I'm posting, and people are finding me. So you just begin to start seeing how people interact. And then I would say, then obviously your under behavior is your like pages. So what pages are best performing? So is it certain post? Is it a certain service? How are people finding you? So it's just, again, just to know, okay, cool. A lot of people go to the home page. A lot of people go to the events page. Great. That's where we want them to, so.
Okay, awesome. So again, it sounded like the three things, again, because there's too many to go down that deep dark hole, to take it as a bite-sized thing. If you were setting up and got your analytics going, you'd want someone to check out their audience to see kind of that bulk amount, how many people are coming on, how many pages they're viewing, where they came from, whether it was organic, meaning they typed in some kind of keyword, or it came from a literally like a Facebook link, and then the behavior of what they're actually doing on the site. Those top three things that if you do nothing else in your analytics, knowing that audience, that acquisition, and that behavior could be a really helpful thing to at least get you moving forward of knowing like, oh, okay, I should do more blogs like that because I saw that people were from organic and landed on, again, in this case, it might be the Orlando trivia page or the trivia events page. So that lets us know, oh, okay, people want to know about trivia events, right? Why else would they go to the trivia events page? That could help us with a content strategy or even a social media strategy of what we're trying to do to get the most traffic. So that's analytics in a nutshell, knowing that it goes to crazy places. Let's give everyone watching and everyone who watched the video after the top three things they could look for in Google Search Console.
Yeah, so it's really kind of easy because you could just go to this homepage here and you can just kind of go down and you can just look at your general performance, and this is usually the number of clicks your website's getting, right? You could see how many pages are in the index, and then there's this page experience report, and so it just shows like what they're the core vitals, page experience, things like that. So it just kind of gives you some numbers, some of which are not necessarily direct ranking data, but just good to have. But you're able to then, if you want to go into performance, you could see impressions, you could start seeing keywords. But again, just looking, right? Am I getting any visibility? Again, looking at the trends, looking at how far back you can go. How are things going? Are you trending up? Are you trending down? Is it seasonal? So you're just able to see all that. It's a nice little snapshot on the homepage, and they've only put more energies and efforts into Search Console. It kind of didn't really have much going on to it, and the data was not easy to work from, but they're allowing you to see a lot more and do a lot more with it. So I definitely think it's definitely something that can be used and embraced a bit.
You kind of said a magic buzzword, right? You said the word keyword. And boy, is that a word that comes up a lot when we're talking with small business owners. So could you just give us just a taste of what Google Search Console even shows in a keyword sense?
Right. So it's going to show you when your website shows up for a keyword. So if there's a certain keyword that you want to rank for, it's going to tell you whether or not that keyword has gotten impressions or clicks or anything that could be interactive. So how is your website performing? Is just a straight list. It might give you more information than what you need to know, but generally overall, you're able to be able to say, oh, cool, Thursday night trivia is a keyword that's getting me a couple clicks. Fantastic. I need to make sure that page is doing well, and so you're able to
Right, or if it's further up the list, for example, maybe it's getting you more volume, might be something also to cultivate, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. So whether it's performing or not performing as much as you want it to do, you can again begin to start again giving content, better content or just paying attention to it.
Absolutely. So we have a couple of questions that came in, so we'll go through both. And again, if anybody has any additional, feel free to, again, at the bottom of your screen, hit that Q&A. So again, there's a lot behind here, what like Google Search Console, Google Analytics, what it can do, and we'll be more than happy to spend deep dives with you on stuff like that. But if you have any specific questions, we'll get to these too. So first one was, can analytics show me how my marketing is doing? So what would you say to that, David? What would you say to someone asking, can an analytics data show them how the things they're spending money on are going?
Yeah, yes, some of the times. It definitely can help you know, especially like with, let's say, Google AdWords. You can combine Google AdWords and analytics together, so you're able to at least have some visibility. So instead of it just saying organic, you'll have another pie shape, right? There was organic, there was referral, there was social, there's another pie in there that says paid. So at least you're able to see that. Now you might have paid ads on Yelp, or you might have paid ads on other kind of third-party sites, and those will come in. So you are able to see that marketing data, and can track, and you can you get really technical, and you could ask them to add certain things to your website URL, and it can actually make sure it goes into the right buckets. You could actually create your own buckets if you really want to. Now you could get real uh, things can get
No,
really,
and I think,
really
but I think
convoluted. Yeah.
that's a good example to give, because we're giving, and that this will lead into even the second question that we'll cover here, but giving that actual example of how it's going, like, and again, I think you would be able to speak to this a lot better than me, and our friends and clients know this, but like an A/B test, for example, that's something we've wielded for quite a few clients. That has a direct connection to how the marketing is doing, because again, in the example of many of the A/B tests we've done, even very recently, there's usually both organic strategies going, social strategies, paid strategies. So in the example of an A/B test, how does that connect through? Just giving the example, a hard concrete example, and an A/B test, again, guys, is something where we would have two versions of the same page and send traffic to both to see which one converts better. There'd be different things on those pages. But for example, to track that, don't we need some software? Don't we need something to communicate?
Right. So everything, well, and everything will go back to analytics, right? Because in order to know what's working and what's not working, you got to have some data, right? It can't be it feels, or there's what's nice is that there is actual usual proof that you can see. And yeah, you could take that test and you can go and say, hey, organic is doing better than paid, or paid is doing better than organic, or mobile phones versus desktop. You could get very, very granular with that data, which just allows you to know a little bit more about what's converting, what's not, and what's driving results, or what's not driving results, or is that a good idea or a bad idea? Do people like green or hate green? Right? It could be as simple as that. Do I need to change a button to I don't know, a flying cow? What is it that's
Right.
going to get somebody to click?
So let's take a couple minutes and dive deeper and give some examples of how we might use some of this data to actually improve performance. Not only is that, again, matching a question that was asked, but I think that could help the most people possible. So we'll give some examples, and I'll go first, and then we'll just play on it for a few minutes. So again, maybe you have a web company that's working with you. You can see some data. You've got a report that says you're getting traffic to a page, right? But then what? What do you do thereafter, or how could you wield analytics in console? Well, there is a research step to this, and I'm going to give you straight up how we do it, right? So when it comes to finding traffic opportunities, we do some keyword research, which again, a lot of these tools, some of them can be free and others cost money. We use a couple softwares. One of them is called Ahrefs. We use Google's Keyword Planner, and we put some information out there to test what keywords might have traffic, right? And we base that off of Google's data and third-party companies like Ahrefs or Moz or SEMrush that give you data based on search history of literally all the humans, right? And you can segment that down to certain areas, whether that's Orlando, whether it's Central Florida, whether it's the entire universe, for example. And when we're looking for a keyword that might have volume, we want to see something that's got searches, but we also want to see something that isn't inundated with competitors, right? And there's a metric for that's called keyword difficulty. So if you're seeing that your site, oh man, my homepage is getting some action, maybe there's a blog that's getting some action, what else can I do? We go down a research rabbit hole of keywords that are related to your industry. So in the example of trivia, because I'm not going to, necessarily speak about any specific one unless y'all want us to, you could say that. But in the example of Tasty Trivia that we were doing there, we knew that we wanted to go after Orlando trivia because we wanted people that were going to literally land on that from organically searching trivia nights in Orlando trivia. So we generated content pages for that. And then additionally, an internal linking strategy throughout all of the blogs on the site to really drive and tell Google, hey, if you're looking for Orlando trivia, this site has a lot of pages that keep pointing to this Orlando trivia page or the homepage, which ranks for Orlando trivia. they're more likely, the search engine is more likely to move that up because of those efforts, because of that content that's on the site and then guided with an internal link. And an internal link, just to be real transparent, is as easy as going in the content and putting a hyperlink on text that says Orlando Trivia, and then linking that back to the page that ranks for that. Is that a fair example of kind of one of the strategies that we would employ?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely it's a very underused, is internal linking is very underused. So absolutely, it's definitely something that's important. And then the keyword side of it is just kind of knowing what people are searching, right? Because just because you think it's a keyword that people search doesn't mean people actually use it. And that's
Right.
there's you because you know the lingo doesn't mean everybody else knows the lingo. So how do you get people to know your lingo, or to see what people are using? And then like you said, in the competition side of things, right? If Wikipedia is number one, as much as maybe it's not the greatest answer, you're not gonna rank above that.
You're not going to beat
As,
Wikipedia, right?
yeah, at this point, I mean,
You know,
it's
we work for a bunch of different industries, and insurance is a great example to give here. We don't try to defeat Geico and Progressive. They're going to rank for these things. They have that clout. They own the ad space. So we find alternative opportunities. So it's really kind of balancing who your competition is, what are you up against, finding those opportunities and going from there. But David, I want you to speak to a different thing that could help some people here. What are some things we do? Let's say the report, or they have analytics and they can see, wow, one of my services pages is really doing well, but nobody's calling, nobody's filling out my contact form. What are some of the things we do in that case? You got a page of content, there's text on it maybe, but it's not converting. What are some of the things we do there?
I mean, it could be a number of things. Can be definitely taking it in, looking for opportunities to put CTAs, right? Calls to action, um,
Well,
making sure
refine
that,
that a little bit. Give an example of call to action
oh,
there.
it could be everything, depending on the client, depending on the needs. It could be putting in a form midway down the page. It could be putting something at the bottom. It could be putting something on mobile. It could be that, like, you're on a blog post, and sometimes it doesn't really matter. Sometimes people will still contact you, but maybe it's helpful to have a little sticky sidebar with the phone number that scrolls with you. It could be as simple as that. And then sometimes it could be, okay, oh, I feel that, again, looking at analytics, that they actually go from the services page always to the contact page, but never call. It's like, huh. Where do we lose them? Where are they confused? Is there too many questions that we're asking on the contact page? Are we, um, again, and a lot of that is a little bit of like, cool, people are on the page, and then now what?
No,
And
I
you're
love that
gonna
you said that, because how many times have we talked with our clients about speaking to the contact form, what is the least amount of information you're willing to take from a lead? And why do we say that? This isn't because we don't want you to get the information. There's hard data that shows us that if you only ask for three things, name, phone, email, you're going to get more conversions on that than name, phone, email, and why you were there. Or name, phone, email, what date you want to talk to me, when you want to do that, what you're interested in, what your mother's maiden name is. The more fields you put on a contact form, the less likely it's going to be to convert. But again, calls to action, slide ins, pop ups, video, not video. Some of the most fun stuff we get to do is take all that we've learned from literally the hundreds of sites we've messed with and all the clients we work with, and all the podcasts we listen to, all the videos we're learning, the programs we've been in, and put that into use. Does everything work every time? No. That's just how this works. Marketing is a little bit of testing what's going to work and what's going to not when it comes to content, or putting a blue button up after the first paragraph versus a red button at the bottom, right? We've had so many different kind of times where there's been successes over things like moving a button up and down a page, or into a sidebar, or changing a header of a home page to really speak more to the end user, not the client, not our client, but who would actually go on the page. So I think that's where we get excited, as you might have saw. I get hyped up about stuff like this. That is where we get excited. I can't thank you guys enough. We've got a couple questions from everybody. We love doing these webinars. We're going to keep doing them every month. If you have suggestions of topics you want us to cover, you go right ahead and email us or put them in. David, I forgot to pull up the other one. Do you know what the next month is off the top of your head? I don't even remember.
Ooh.
I don't remember either. So guess what? You have to see our
entertaining.
email that's coming your way. We're going to have that email for you. I don't remember either. We talk TikTok, we talk Twitter. Today was a really fun one about Google Analytics and Google Search Console. Thanks for sticking with us, guys. We'll be back in action next month with a whole new topic that is going to, again, help your
LinkedIn.
business.
It's going to be LinkedIn.
It's going to be LinkedIn. It's going to be LinkedIn. There we go. We're going to talk all about LinkedIn next month.
Connected on LinkedIn.
That's right. Have a great rest of your month. Hit us up with any questions, an email, text, whatever it takes. We'll see you soon.